is a presentation of Sertoba Media and Comey Media, Incorporated.
We are back for more football as got to take a look at some things with Jordan Love ties Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow for the highest annual NFL quarterback contract. Does he really deserve the bank to be thrown at him after one season as a starter thus far? Quarterback Sam Howell has been almost alarmingly inaccurate. Do you believe this is the beginning of the end for him in the NFL? Looking ahead to the 2024 NFL season and the teams that may need some veteran help, who are the top three available free agents that can make an impact immediately? A recap of Week 8 in CFL as well as a preview for Week 9. All that and more on the 48th edition of Total Football Talk. Welcome, one and all. It's that time again. We are back for episode 48 of Total Football Talk. I'm your co-host, Drew Willingham, along with the EP of all EPs, my man, Co Johnson. Welcome back, brother.
I swear, being on the project with you, it makes me think I should drink 20 cups of coffee a day just to keep up with you and your energy.
In all
it's
fairness,
good to be with you, man.
It's great to be with you too, brother. In all fairness, I took a nice nap before we got started today, so I'm feeling right. It's
Good.
like the Monday ritual, you know, with working these wild hours, the full-time job, and then staying up to like anywhere from 6 to 8 o'clock in the morning to get the slate prepared, going to bed, you know, getting ready to rock and roll. When you wake up, it's time to have some fun. And with that being said, we got a lot to talk about today. You know, we got the NFL, we got the CFL, we got some dumpster pelican-like players that have been playing in the CFL this past week for one, but also we got some news coming out the NFL as well when it comes to contract signings. Let's go ahead and take a look at all this, but starting out with the opening drive.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989, on two. Ready? Great.
And here with the opening drive, we'll start this out with last Friday's game. As when it comes to CFL in Week 8, the bye team that we had was the BC Lions. BC Lions have been tearing it up, you know, throughout the CFL in the 7 weeks that they had played up until this point. We'll get a week off, and we'll start out when it comes to our review to the Friday game on July 26th as the Calgary Stampeders absolutely got decimated 33-6 in this type of game. It was absolutely bowl and shoe ugly, Cole. One of the worst displays of football, professional football, that I have ever seen in my life. And it comes in this game where we have this game in Ottawa, the Redblacks doing a great job, putting up 33 points to the 6 on the Stampeders. Drew Brown, not spelled like mine, but with a U, puts up 325 passing yards and a touchdown, which is a major improvement from this dumpster Pelican-esque play that we saw the week prior. I mean, he absolutely sucked the week before. All right. We're going to talk about them like the formerly known as the Redskins. Absolutely sucked. But Drew Brown picks it up, 325 passing yards and a touchdown. The Redblacks running backs actually stepped up a little bit too. 12 carries on the day for 79 yards. Touchdown by Dustin Crum, the backup quarterback. Khalil Pimpleton, 7 receptions, 80 yards. Jalen Ackland, 5 receptions for 35 yards and a touchdown. The Redblacks defense, 4 sacks on the day, along with Lewis Ward going 4 for 4 on field goals with a long of 42 to contribute, putting up 12 points on the day to help out this team and getting over the hump with 33 points. Jake Meyer on the other side of the ball for the Stampeders was the dumpster Pelican of the game, with just only 136 passing yards. That's all he did. 136 passing yards. What in the father is going on out here in the gridiron? Now, Dedrick Mills, the team MVP, and is absolutely sad to say this when he has 9 carries for 43 yards, 5 receptions for 57 yards, combining for a complete total of 100 total yards between receiving and rushing. The Stampeders defense, 3 sacks on the day. When you look at this game, a horrible display of professionalism when it comes to football. What are your thoughts when it comes to the Stampeders as they fall to 3-4 on the year?
On the Stampeders, this absolutely was the worst performance of the year by far. And I had concerns about this team putting forth a putrid performance like this, where, for the exception of their pass rush, everything just went wrong for them. They couldn't really run the ball. They couldn't throw it. They couldn't stop the run. They slowed it down. I guess you could say that they most certainly couldn't stop the pass. And they couldn't keep the team out the end zone, and they couldn't get to the end zone, and they barely got points to their doggone selves. They've been up and down all year. They played up and down to their competition. Well, at least they decided not to show up this week. This was a putrid performance by the Stampeders, and credit to Ottawa. Calgary, they had their worst performance of the year thus far. The Redblacks, they had their best performance of the year thus far. And they almost got 80 yards out of their running backs rushing. They got over 300 yards from a QB and Drew Brown, where we have actually said on air, he actually could help this team out and produce more. He actually did that and didn't turn the ball over and got a touchdown. And the Redblacks defensively, they've been there. They've sort of crested and they've risen and they've crested and they've risen. They haven't been bad. They haven't been good, but they were great today, or at least in this game, I should say, this past Friday. 4 sacks and you only allow 2 field goals. I love a defense that comes together and wants to rally and play like this. And they helped that offense out, and the offense was able to do what they wanted to do. So credit the Redblacks defense on putting the offense on track. But the Stampeders, they got stampeded. And this helter-skelter performance, it's not going to help the team.
You're absolutely right. And another thing that also contributed towards the Redblacks' success was their special teams. Speaking of Khalil Pimpleton, he had 8 punt returns for 162 yards and a touchdown, a return touchdown. So when you think about all that, they were clicking on all cylinders, all 3 phases of the game. They were doing their jobs respectively on offense, defense, and even special teams. That's why we got the routing of what we did. It also helps out when the offense on the other side is playing like they don't even know each other, like there's no chemistry at all. That's what it looked like when I saw the Calgary Stampeders. It was like a team that was assembled over the weekend, had never done anything before, never even had a cold one, or anything, because they are that close, working in the same city, working for the same organization, and you show up, you put up 6 points, 137 passing yards, when the week prior, Jake Meyer had over 300 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. What is going on out here for the Calgary Stampeders? You now fall below 500. It's not looking good for you for the heading into the second half of the season here soon.
No, it's not. I mean, so you're now about to head into the dog days portion of the drive, and you have looked inconsistent. You've had these games where it's like, okay, you're showing some promise, talking about the Stampeders. All right, you show some promise, and then you go to Winnipeg and lay an egg there. And then even though you in a win, you figure, okay, everything is right, and then you get dog walked. You can't trust this team, and if they're going to play spoiler, they got to play much better than this. But yes, I credit the Redblacks. I was hoping they would actually put forth a performance like this, a game like this, because that was the only thing to me that was missing and having me think, okay, well, this team actually could contend, not necessarily for the Grey Cup, but they could contend for a playoff spot. I feel a little bit better with their performance this past Friday.
Yeah, notice that we skipped over the Thursday game. Just a little bit of a little bit of heads up for everybody. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. And for those of you who are returning viewers to this show, I think you're going to see why. But before we get to that point, Sick Diggy, our man, is in the house. Says good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, all the way from Norway.
Good evening to you, Sick. Good to see you as always, man.
Yeah, appreciate you being here, Sick. 6 hours ahead. It's going on 11 o'clock at night where he's at. We appreciate you tuning in and listening to or watching this program. And he also says, what's good, everybody? Well, the goodness is that you are here in the house watching this show right now. And we appreciate you. To all of you who are watching this, please do us a favor. Like, share, and subscribe if you're watching on Comey Media or Sertoba Media for the first time. Please Every little bit helps the algorithm. Pushes us out there a little bit higher out here in these streams.
Yes, sir.
With that being said, we have one more game. Well, actually, 3 more games to get to. We'll go ahead and take it to the next one. That is the Saturday game. Here with the Saturday game, this one right here is a vote by Ryan McCarthy as another bowling shoe ugly contest. When it comes to this game right here, it went to overtime, all right. It went to overtime, but you might as well have been beat up by a midget, because that would have been more entertaining than watching this game right here.
Beat up by a midget.
Hey, you know that it's hard to get beat up by said individual. And for that to happen, it's way more entertaining if you had that on camera than what this game was. And that's what I thought when I was watching this game live and even in the replay, because for the team that won, the Toronto Argonauts, check this out. The starting quarterback, 7 passing yards, and was pulled after the first half, just like we saw in the previous he was struggling. This is in a row where Cameron Dukes has struggled. Okay. Now, no, it's not. And you got Nick Arbuckle coming in. He comes in to save the day, and all he does is put up 87 passing yards. That's all he does. So he puts up like another 50 yards than what Cameron Dukes does, and they still find a way to win. Normally, when you have 2 quarterbacks playing, and it's like one in the first half and one in the other, they don't win. This just goes to show you how bad this Winnipeg Blue Bombers team is. And it's the main reason right here that we'll get into when we dive into it as to why this team is and will be under 500 for the remainder of the season. I thought the Tiger Kitties were bad. I thought that, the Edmonton Elkamos were bad. But the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, despite 2 wins, are still just as bad. Because the Argonauts, Kadeem Carey, put up 10 carries for 62 yards. And I would say he's the MVP. But we have to look at the Argonauts' defense. If it wasn't for what they did, putting up 5 sacks and an interception by Travaris McFadden, they would not have won this game in overtime. Okay, that's just hands down. That's just what I saw when I looked at this game. And it's sad when you look at the other side. And Winnipeg Blue Bombers have 2 players who've been playing consistent this year, and that's their quarterback and their running back. They haven't been totally terrible. Right. Colaros has 317 passing yards, a touchdown, and an interception in this game. Okay, so he's doing the best he can with what he's got. Brady Oliveira has 13 carries for 96 yards, 6 receptions for 51 yards on the day. He is the team MVP besides what Ontario Wilson did with 7 receptions for 129 yards and a touchdown. Between those 3 people, they were the exact highlights between the quarterback, the running back, and the wide receiver. And then Nick Dembski also added 2 receptions for 49 yards. And the Blue Bombers defense put up 2 sacks. Despite what they've done in the past, they put up some worse numbers before. So I was still glad to see they were able to put up 2 sacks. But Cole, when you watch this team in the Blue Bombers, a 2-6 team, what is going on with them out here? And how are they going to be able to switch this up and get back to relevance here in the CFL?
And this is what sucks, man. The defense actually came to play. And when you have the defense do what they do, you force a team with 2 quarterbacks to not even throw for 125 yards in the game. And you still take that wonderful letter. I forget the letter. I can't remember it. It has a stem that goes up and down and one that goes left to right. Oh yeah, this one. You mean you tell me you hold a team to 125 yards passing with 2 quarterbacks and you still lose? You throw for 300 yards your doggone self. You run for almost 100 yards with one of your running backs. You probably gained over 100 yards total as a team on the ground. You have a 130-yard receiver almost. You even got 2 sacks. And your team still lost? Ugh. This is frustrating. This would go under the file to me if I was the head coach of this is when you do most of the things right. But the reason why you took the L is because you didn't do everything right. I mean, the defense, you could pat yourself on the back for certain things. Offense, you can pat yourself on the back for certain things. But both sides, you failed to do certain things at certain junctures of this game. That is frustrating. That's frustrating. The defense did their job. The offense let them down, and not by the point total, by not doing their job, which is to get the ball in the end zone as often as they possibly can. And you have to do that if you're going to be on the road and you're going to hold the team to 16 points and 2 quarterbacks to throw for 124 yards. That is frustrating. That is frustrating. So yeah, I would put it on the offense mostly, but I do put it someone on the defense too, because you got to hold them too, and in key moments you couldn't. Now for the Argonauts, I'm looking forward to what you have to say about them.
I mean, this team right here is very, very, very fortunate, Cole, to be above 500 right now. Very, very fortunate. We got a team on one hand that we were just talking about, the Stampeders, who fall below 500, who are 3-4, and then the Argonauts move up to 4-3, but not pretty. I mean, I dealt with a big loss in the sports world, which I'm going to actually talk about in my final take today, just because I got to let it out. But it reminds me of that when we're looking at this team right here, and there are teams out there that aren't good, but they find ways to win. It doesn't always have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be by 20-plus points.
No.
But you've got the Argonauts who are fighting and clawing, and even if it's ugly, it reminds me of like the way that the games would end when Tebow was the quarterback for the Broncos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, 3.5 quarters of absolute terrible play. And then we get to the final half of the quarter, or last 4 minutes, somewhere in there, and you're turning it on to where you look like an MVP type talent, but only for 4 minutes. It's literally for a very, very short span of time. That's what I see when I see this. And that's probably insulting Tim Tebow by saying that. And I'm not trying to do that, but that's the closest comparison I could think of to where you just have that much inconsistency within your game. And it's getting exposed, but yet by the end of the game, you find a way to close it out. The Argonauts are good at closing, okay? I'm going to call them the closer here. They're closing it out each in 4 out of 7 games, which is impressive enough. But the way they're playing right here and right now, there is no way they're going to be above 500 by the end of the year if they continue to play like this. They need to get some real production consistently out of their quarterback or quarterbacks. They're going to run a 2-quarterback system. Kadeem Carey
Oh.
They're lucky they got a win, because I looked it up. In order for them to get the 3 previous wins, and when they got the 3-3 in the previous 6 games, Kadeem Carey had to have 75 plus rushing yards, or tip the scales with over 50 receiving yards as well, because he's been a dual threat, kind of like a hybrid back there. When I look at that and I think about his production here, for him to only have 10 carries, 62 yards, and what he was able to get out of that,
not enough.
I'm not enough, but they still found a way to win. And it's pretty miraculous when you look at it. The big tipping of this was the fact that their defense stepped up, and their defense has also been big during those 4 wins as well. 5 sacks is nothing to take this slouch at. You can't take that lightly at all. And there's teams out there that can still get 5 sacks, interception, and lose. And they almost did by only winning by 2 points. But coulda, shoulda, woulda doesn't count here, as the Argonauts did roll out of here with the win. I'm not going to go off as hard on them as I did on the Blue Bombers a few weeks ago, because at least they have a winning record right now. The Blue Bombers don't. They got 2 wins. The Hamilton Tiger Kitties, we'll talk about them here in a little bit, as well as the Edmonton Elkamos, arguably still the 2 worst teams in the league. Blue Bombers aren't that far behind them, and they happen to play in this game right here, only putting up 14 points. But the sad thing, when you look at these 2 teams, offense looks more complete for the Blue Bombers.
Yeah, I know.
Defense that overshadowed it in this game. And that's the biggest thing I can really say about this game right here.
And this is what's troubling me about the Argonauts. So you have the opportunity to show that you're on your home turf. You've taken it on the chin a couple of times. You're trying to get your mojo back. And now you feel as though the guy who's supposed to lead your team and lead the troops is not the guy. To now publicly have this quarterback controversy, that does not bode well with chemistry at all. You were talking about the Stampeders looking as though they had chemistry issues. Just take the look at the Argonauts. They have the same exact problem. And it looks like it is. It is a chemistry issue. It's a continuity issue. And defensively, 5 sacks is definitely nothing to sneeze at. And yes, I credit Argonauts defense for getting this W, because if the defense didn't play above and beyond, this should be a Bombers W going away, because you cannot have a 300-yard passer, almost a 100-yard receiver. You give up a 130-yard receiver, a almost 100-yard rusher, and you still win the game. Yeah, this is what the early 90s Bills defense was when they were talking about. Okay, well, they may not wow you with being like the monsters of the Midway. They may not hold you to single digits most times, but they bend but don't break. So they bent, they didn't break enough, and they got the stops when they needed, like you said, and the Argonauts closed when they needed to, and the Bombers didn't.
Absolutely. And, special teams played a part in it too. You got to look at, the Argonauts here. What they did, it's still wild that they had less production except for their defense. And you look at the Blue Bombers were moving the ball around, 9 returns for 98 yards on punts. That's a lot of punts that the other team, when the Argonauts are punting the ball 9 times. We talked about the other team previously in the previous game. The reason why that team won, because they had received 8 punts. I mean, that's 8 drives you are turning the ball over on, because it's technically still what it is. It is what it is. So looking at it here, the higher the number of punts right here, 9-8, still, it's enough to tip the scales between special teams and defense. That's what we saw in this game right here. An absolute display, and I'm going to bring it up right here and now. Absolute display of dumpster Pelicanism. They are the number 2. Well, you know what? Let's bring that back up on a loop so you guys can see that for a second. They are the number 2 dumpster pelican of the week right here. The one with the shortest beak, not the biggest beak right there. You have to look at it for what it is. I'm giving them credit where it's due. Not the bigger beak, but the shorter beak. That's what they were in this game. And that's what I'm going to go with when it comes to the Argonauts and the Blue Bombers. And I'm speaking more shade for the team that won than the team that lost here, because the Blue Bombers, we've seen them struggle all year long. They were 2-5 coming into this game. They put up a good fight. In my opinion, the Blue Bombers deserve to win this game, and they should be 3-5 as we speak about them right now. But unfortunately, it didn't happen that way.
No. And I agree with you. The Argonauts should be ashamed. They only won this game by 2 and in overtime to boot.
Yes.
Yeah. At home. Yeah.
And these next 2 are for you before we go to our next game. By Sick Dicky.
All right. The opening drive is brought to you by Peanut Butter and Jealous brand new dark almond butter and blackberry. Take your sandwich to the dark side of delicious. And Ice Blast. When you need an ice cold drink, make it a blast. Ice Blast. Now available in pineapple, cranberry, and passion fruit, dark orange, and thunder blueberry.
Stuff our man comes up with is absolutely wild at times. He's definitely feeling very berry this evening for himself over there in Norway. And as always, when it comes to Stream Elements, saying subscribe now and never miss out on new content, whether you're watching this on Comey Media or Sertoba Media in this moment, please do us both a favor and subscribe, like, and share the content for both of these channels, as it helps us out here on the algorithm, and we greatly appreciate it. With that being said, we still have 2 more games to cover. My bad, I forgot to take the loop off. All right, so you just got a bunch of whistles in your face. Now we are back. When it comes to, we've covered the Friday and Saturday game now. Let's take it to Sunday. You know, this past Sunday, we had the Hamilton Tiger Kitties taking on the Edmonton Elkamos. 2 absolute teams that have been playing like this all year long. Yes, loop is off. Now we are back. When it comes to this game right here, the Dumpster Pelican Bowl of the year is what some would call it. But right here and now, the Tiger Cats stepped up yet again as they put up 44 points on the road in Edmonton to give the Elkamos a 44-28 deficit. Bo Levi Mitchell steps up in this game, goes for a stone cold Steve Austin 316 passing yards with
what?
Yes, sir. 5 passing touchdowns and 1 interception on the day. Despite the 1 interception, he was lights out with 5 touchdowns. You know, there's not many times that you could throw 5 touchdowns and lose, and they won considerably in this game by 16 points. James Butler also had 21 carries for 98 yards, 3 receptions for 19 yards as well. I don't even know how to say this man's name, and I'm starting to think there's a conspiracy theory on people that they can't pronounce names, and that's why they're in the CFL and not the NFL. This guy right here, Luther, goes for 2 receptions, 83 yards, and a touchdown.
He has to spit to pronounce the man's name.
DeAndre Smith, 2 receptions, 69 yards, and a touchdown. I don't know how to say that man's name. I was honest. I told you before and after I pronounced his name in the best way that I knew how. Right here and now, all I'm just going to say is the man's name is Luther. Now back to this. The Tiger Cats had 3 sacks on the day and 1 interception by Jamal Peters, a man who stepped up now for the 2nd week in a row as he went 3 for 3 for field goals. Lehijo Maejo, the kicking specialist, is back when he goes 100% for kicking, and he had a long field goal for 47 yards. That's what got the Hamilton Tiger Cats 44 points on the day. But now we have to look at the ugly side of this game. we have to look at McLeod Bethel Thompson still continues to struggle as the quarterback for the Edmonton Elks. 85 passing yards and an interception. They bring in the quarterback, the second string quarterback, Trey Ford, 121 passing yards with 3 touchdowns. The Elkamos running backs actually had their best game of the season. 99 rushing yards on 19 attempts. And that's, in my opinion, the best game they've had all year long so far. Curly Gittens Jr., 5 receptions for 40 yards and a touchdown on the day, as well as Gavin Cobb's 2 receptions for 40 yards and 1 touchdown as well, contributed towards Trey Ford's 3 passing touchdowns as the backup quarterback. But the Elks defense, 1 sack and 1 interception by Marcus Lewis. There's a lot of inconsistencies with the Elkamos and a lot of highs that we saw for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. What are your thoughts when we break down this game right here of how things went from beginning to end?
Well, the Tiger Cats decided not to be Tiger Kitties, obviously. I am loving the fact that we got a 300-yard passer and a almost 100-yard rusher, and I love the carries. Actually, I think I love the carry amount more than I love the yard total. The yard total helps, obviously, but I love the fact that they were willing to commit to running the ball, and I love that. And look, the defense, it's been decent here in this game too, and of course you have to give credit to special teams as well. 3 field goals from your kicker when you actually have him, you need the 3 points from him, and the defense stalls. That's always a good thing. Tiger Cats, I think they put forward probably their best game of the year here. The Elks, defensively, obviously, they put their worst game of the year. There's not even a question about that. This is the worst defensive game the Elks have played all year. Offensively, the running game was good. The passing game was not. And you have another team that is having continuity issues at QB. And when you have that, this is what results. Skittish totals. And with the combined total of just a shade over 200 yards passing between the 2 quarterbacks. And yeah, you could say, well, the backup threw for 3 touchdowns. I guarantee you most of them were in garbage time. But still, that is what you have.
You're absolutely right when it comes to that. I mean, there were some garbage time points put up in the 4th quarter, okay? Because the Elks put up 20 of their 28 points in the 4th quarter. That's absolutely terrible. And the Tiger Cats had put up only 10. So it was 34-8 coming into the 4th quarter. They were absolutely getting mollywopped in this game. It was to the point that they queued Ron Simmons up for this. Because they got decimated in this game and served that big fat stinker. Luckily, we do have one great game to cover on the week to make up for all of this tomfoolery that we've been discussing for the past 3 games we talked about. And now for this final game, we have to go to the illustrious game of the week. And with this game of the week, we take it back to Thursday. We've covered Friday, Saturday, and Sunday games, but we're going to go back to the Thursday game. As in my opinion, that was the game of the week because we had the 2 best teams arguably in the league because the BC Lions were on bye this week. There's 3 really good teams in this 9-team league right now, but the 2 top teams happen to be playing each other. And you have to look at the Saskatchewan Roughriders as they go on the road to Montreal to take on the Alouettes in this Thursday game. It was a 4-point contest as the Roughriders fell 20-16 to the Alouettes. The backup quarterback was in for the Alouettes, as you know, we saw a little bit of an injury in the past game with Cody Fajardo getting knocked out. For what I believe Ryan said, it could be up to 6 weeks. But the difference between the CFL is if you get knocked out, and you go on like a IR for like 6 weeks, they can still activate you before the 6 weeks is up. If I remember him saying that right in the group chat earlier this week. So when you look at that, that's a difference that the NFL does not have. Like once you're put on the IR, you're there. Like they have changed some things up for the playoffs. They did recently change that up during the offseason. But during the season, if you're on like a six game IR, you're going to stay there. And he can't come off of it early. So it's going to be interesting to see if Fajardo comes back early for the Alouettes or not. But looking at this right here and now, the backup quarterback Davis Alexander puts up 178 passing yards with 2 passing touchdowns and 2 carries for 13 yards. It's not pretty, but it was enough to get this team over the hump, as their running back Walter Fletcher was struggling on this day, and he has been somebody who has been carrying the load, like literally carrying the load for the Alouettes this year. As in this game, he only had 5 carries for 16 yards. He did muster up 5 receptions for 53 yards, but still, when you look at the running attack, I think this game could have been spread wide open had they been able to establish it. But it just goes to show how dominant the Roughriders defense is, and that's a big part of why they're where they are at this point of the year. You have to give them credit where it's due, and why this game was as close as it was. Now, Tyson Philpott, 7 receptions, 88 yards, along with Reggie White Jr., 4 receptions for 50 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Alouettes defense, 2 sacks on the day. They were a little quiet, but when it comes to the other side, the Roughriders, it was literally the battle of the backup quarterbacks. As Shea Patterson had 222 passing yards, backup running back who was in for AJ Alouette, Frankie Hickson, 16 carries for 117 yards and a touchdown. Where has he been all year long? Like, look at that. 101 reception for 16 yards. He had better numbers than Alouette had last week. Okay. So do we have a controversy brewing up there with the running backs, as the Roughriders defense puts up 5 sacks in a day and loses? We just talked about earlier how we had a team that put up 5 sacks and an interception to get them over the hump to win, and that was the Argonauts, but it couldn't work out that way against the Roughriders because they were playing a better team than the Alouettes. Brett Lowther also puts up 3 of 5 for field goals along of 43 yards on the day. When you look at this as a whole, between what the backup quarterbacks did for each team, what your backup running back did for the Roughriders, and outperformed the running back who was on the winning team. And you got to look at the receivers too. The defense, it was all a battle of that. Where was the breakdown in this game, in your opinion, Cole?
It would have to be. All right. So in my opinion, with the Roughriders, I think the issue they have is, can they get that backup quarterback comfortable? I mean, he started a few games. Now, can they get him a little more comfortable? Because I think that's where it's missing. Because for some reason he's not connecting with the offense as a whole. And I think if that happens, because the defense is there. I mean, you hold a team that can offensively go like the Alouettes, and yes, I understand their starting QB is gone for a minute. Still, this is a really good explosive offense. You hold them to 20 points in Montreal. This is a defense that if you can actually get going and you can put together 3 touchdown drives, they can get you a Grey Cup. That defense is that good. But I think you have to have some continuity with the offense. The backup QB, he's now had a few weeks to start. Now he has to blend in with the rest, and I don't think he's blended in with them yet well enough. And yeah, it doesn't help your team too when your field goal kicker misses 2 field goals. But and if he hits them both, there's your win. But I look at Shea Patterson. I look at that connection's not quite there with him, and the other 10 guys. And when that gets going, and he doesn't have to do like with Vernon Adams Jr. in Vancouver, what the BC Lions do. He doesn't have to throw for 350 yards every game. But I mean, if he can get them these same stuff, even the passing yard total is decent. But get them a couple touchdowns. Show that you actually have the ability to know where your receivers like it, where your tight end likes it, where your running back likes it. If you can get that understanding right away or soon, that I think is where the rubber will meet the road. Unfortunately, though, it feels as though the offense is still playing patchwork with continuity issues a little. And because of that, you have the L that the Roughriders took, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And, it was tough to watch. Absolutely tough to watch when it comes to their breakdown based on the fact that they got less, I don't want to say it this way, it sounds bad, but less talented hands on deck because it's not their starters, okay? They're getting affected by their quarterback play and their running back, both their starters being out. Didn't really affect them with their running attack because Hickson showed up big for the Roughriders. But when you break down the quarterback play, and you got Shea Patterson, who's been in there for multiple weeks now, not able to remain consistent enough to put up the type of numbers that we need to see a team like this consistently win at. He reminds me of Quentin Dormady for the San Antonio Brahmas, the UFL. I believe I brought that up a few weeks back, and it's still very similar to what I see when I watch him play for the Roughriders.
Yeah.
But the difference between the two of them is Dormady was still able to lead this team to the playoffs to where Chase Garbers could come back. And even though it wasn't until like the championship game itself, I believe it was the XFL championship game, he came back in and then played in the UFL championship. He still did his job as a backup quarterback to put them in the position to get that far. I don't think that Shea Patterson, if they're leaning on him to do this for another 6 to 8 weeks, this team is going to make it that far as the Brahmas did in the UFL. I just don't see it happening, Cole. And I would love to, because, this year I've dubbed myself as a Saskatchewan Roughriders fan. And it's going to be tough to watch this. I don't hardly ever jump on a bandwagon. You got to look at me as a fan of the formerly known as the Redskins, okay? If I can stick with them through everything, I'm not a bandwagon fan. But because we are just really starting to get into the CFL action, I did pick a team this year. And if I jump on a wagon, I'm sure as blank not going to jump off. So, right here and right now, I'm still going to stick with the Roughriders. Just don't know how rough they're going to be riding by the end of this season. We're going to have to see.
Well, if the continuity on offense is going to be the way it is and the way it has been for the last few weeks, the rough riding will continue, because I really feel for that defense. They're putting together really good performances.
Yes.
Because this is the first time they had like a 5-sack performance. And when you have a defense that gives you the opportunity to have possessions, and they do the 1-2 punt. I can't say 1-2-3 punt, but they do the 1-2 punt, and they give you the opportunities to have more possessions. You got to take advantage of them, because, and we've seen this in countless levels and different professional levels. When you have the opportunity to get extra possessions for your offense and the offense does not capitalize on them, the defense is going to look at that offense and they're going to say, okay, well, you all are so inept. We're going to have to actually score touchdowns ourselves. You do not want a team to get to that point. And the Roughriders is just about to get there, I believe.
And I really hope that comes into fruition. That's a really good take on that. And you got to look at 2 of those 5 sacks coming from Brian Cox Jr., formerly, playing defensive end in the NFL, now with this team in the Saskatchewan Roughriders for a second season, formerly with the Carolina Panthers, You know, he came into the league in 2017, played a few years there, went to the Cleveland Browns, then was with the Buffalo Bills during 2020 to 2021. You know, from that point forward, you know, as an undrafted free agent, he still made noise in this game, mustering 2 of those 5 sacks. He did his job. He needs to be proud of that. On top of that, you got to look at their safety as well doing a job. You got to look at, I believe it's CJ Revis. Yes, 7 tackles on the day. Big contributor on the defensive side for the Roughriders. If they can keep this up, you know, keep these games close, the next time they face the Alouettes, it could be the shoe on the other foot. We could see them winning a 4-point game. So, but they got to get better, consistent play out of their quarterback because, in my opinion, that's and the fact that their running game, well, their running game was solid. That's what kept them in it along with their defense. But they need to get their field goal kicker on par too, because he missed 2 field goals. Had he made those 2 field goals that he missed, that's an additional 6 points. You would have won by 2 points, and you would have beat the Alouettes in this game.
That's right. Yeah, and that's another thing. You can't have the defense give you those opportunities, and they're going to blame 2 sides of the ball for not bringing it home. And they would have every right to actually do that, because they'll actually say, well, the quarterback isn't putting our team in the end zone. And then when he actually stalls and gets them in field goal position, the field goal kicker can't be relied on to execute. This is the danger you have with a team that is physical like the Roughriders. And they can build on the fact that they actually have a really good performance out of their backup running back. If that can continue, that could help out Shea Patterson. That could help out the QB if they can rely on that production. I would even say up the carry total if you can. If they could do that, I think I would like the Roughriders' chances in this next man up stage. But if they continue like this, I don't like it at all.
We'll see how things pan out for them. Before we go to our next spot, we do have to give some shout outs to a few people. Our man Wise El Jefe's in the house.
Wise, what's up, man? It is good to see you, man. It is good to see you. Many blessings, and thank you for lending Real Wise Radio to this show. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you as always, man.
Absolutely. He has been crushing it with Real Wise Radio and multiple other projects. You guys have been crushing it with Mentality. So you guys definitely keep that up. It's definitely a great content for us to watch out here in these streams. Even Sick Diggy's joining that and says, salute, as Stuck in My Mind podcast, he says. And Wise comes back and says, hey, Sick, we appreciate you guys giving the love out here in these streams. As well as Ike showing up and saying, what's up, fellas?
It's good to see Ike. It's been a minute.
Yes.
Oh, man, it's been a minute. Oh,
and I put his comment up a minute ago just because we were talking about him, but he ushered my Roughriders.
Yeah, he loves how you say Roughriders. Lord. Jeez.
Well, guys, we've gone through our first big segment of the show. We're going to take our first commercial break. When we come back, we still have a whole lot more in store for you, mainly NFL action for the remainder of the show and a preview for week 9. The CFL, there is one NFL game this week, even though it's glorified two-hand touch because it's preseason. But NFL is back, and we'll get to that here in just a few minutes.
All right, let's go. We got trips, right? At 42, 989 on 2. Ready? Quick.
We're just getting started. Total Football Talk will return right after this. Whether it's news, the largest egg producer finds bird flu in chickens at a Texas plant, weather, devastating tornadoes rip through the heart of the United States, inspiration, a breast cancer survivor completed the journey of chemotherapy, and now begins a future one of matrimony or sports. Michael Jordan is shown on a photo with Diddy. LeBron James has a video extolling the virtues of a Diddy party. This has been yet another beating a dead horse presentation. We got you covered. BS3 Network, in association with Comey Media Incorporated, proudly present The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. Live every weekday at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Central. Hey, Eagles fan. Join my man Cool McCain and a host of others as they break down every single game, every single week in an objective manner, and also from a fan's perspective as well. Remember, this cast feels just like you. Nobody likes you. And you don't care. Fly, Eagles, fly. Eagles Elite Podcast. Every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and other podcast outlets.
Everything Boston. I love you morons. New Kids on the Block, New Edition.
Dear whatever the law firm is. Sincerely, the U.S. Supreme Court.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon. Go yourself again, Jason Whitlock.
Oh, yeah! We are back for Total Football Talk because we're about to talk about Jordan Love becomes the highest paid quarterback in NFL history with $220 million Packers contract. We are back for episode 48 Total Football Talk. My man Cole Johnson and myself, Drew Willingham. We are back to talk about the latest in professional football. With that being said, we now have to take this into the Gridiron Scoop. I am really, really, really interested in getting your take on this next subject, and the viewers bring those comments in because I am really looking forward to hearing what you got to say. So right here, when it comes to this,
All right.
Titans signed former Broncos first rounder who hasn't taken an NFL snap in 6 years. Do you believe the signing of 31-year-old pass rusher Shane Ray will pay off, or will it be a potential head-scratching bust? You know I'm running out of things to talk about when I'm grabbing this one.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. I'm going to be as impartial as I possibly can. This move will not pay off. This move is not even a potential head-scratching bust. This move comes from the how can I put this in such a nice manner? It comes from the tightwad that is Amy Adams Strunk. That is the best way I can put it. The Titans make moves like this, and it just makes you say, "What?" No, actually, better yet. Titans make moves like this, and he's like my man here when he just sees what the front office is doing, and it's like he's looking at the whole Titan fandom, and wants to say,
"Surprise, motherfucker!"
Because I can't understand the rationale that you would have in getting somebody who has not taken an NFL snap in 6 years to man your pass rushing duties. Now, look, he may have some gifts. He may actually put forth some tackles. He might even get you a sack. But really, you're that hard up. This is why, even if I did not have the if I didn't have the blood turned cold heart that I do have toward the Titans, if they were still the Houston Oilers, this is what would make me want to go to their front office and just simply strangle their necks. It's like, you mean to tell me you couldn't find anybody more talented than this person? You couldn't find someone who has actually been through the grind a little bit more than this person? So you want to actually have somebody who you basically you would deem this person a practice squad guy. And this makes news. This is why you're the inept franchise that you are and you have been for years, because you keep making moves like this. But it doesn't matter. You have the fan base snowed under. We have football in Nashville. Yay! We don't give a crap if it's 11 rocks that's on the field. We're happy if the NFL is in Nashville. You have them all snowed. This is sad. Goodness gracious.
It's really a shame that Amy Adams Strunk's, like, her initials, like her middle name, like Adams couldn't be replaced with a name that starts with an S. So that way, the initials spell what you just imagined. Because that would be awesome. Because when we look in this moment right here, you got to look at Miss AAS. We're going to look at her right here. I brought this up just for you, Cole. Here she is, the woman of the hour. You speak of her, and I bring her up on the screen. Look at those players behind her. She has absolutely no idea what she is doing out here on that gridiron or in the front office. Miss AAS, it is time to relinquish your responsibilities to somebody who can do them correctly.
Because your father didn't teach you anything.
Goodness
No,
gracious.
Bud did not teach her how to run a team, okay? And her husband obviously doesn't know how to run the team either. So, looking at this situation for what it is, you living very close to this team, okay? You're not a fan of them. We know this. Yeah, I know it. You know, and the people who have been sticking with us know it, okay?
Right.
You just fortunately, the area is not bad, but the team just absolutely sucks. Like, it's a good area to live in from what it looks like, but it's a terrible team to root for.
Yes. even like I said, even if I was devoid of the sports hatred that I have for the team, yes, this team would be bad to root for. Yeah.
I gotta link you up with because with you being a fan of professional wrestling, like myself and some of our other brothers out here in the streams, I gotta link you up with the AIWF World Heavyweight Champion Golden Boy Greg Anthony, who's a 2-time Vault of Fame inductee on the In or Out Sports Debate, because he wrestles in that area. He lives there in Tennessee. Okay. So I gotta get y'all to link up at some point because I feel like we'll talk about it more off air, but I'm pretty sure like the drive from where you live to where he performs isn't that far. And he does a lot of his house shows on Friday and Saturday nights. And he's the booker and runs everything for it. And the promotion that he's the champion for is actually not his own promotion. Another promotion made it. It's a long story. We're talking football and I'm going into wrestling. But with that being said, I think that you should go check out one of his shows because it's like from me driving from where I'm at to Richmond, like a 30-minute drive for you to go there. I think it'd be a treat for you to check that out, Cole.
That's not bad. 30 minutes? That's not bad at all. Okay.
And I had to change this up to something positive because talking about AAS just really got me chapped, okay? And taking this to the point that you signed somebody who hasn't taken a snap in the NFL in 6 mother-fathering years, Cole. 6 of them. And
now you wonder why I have such disdain for the Titans.
Last time he played, he was 25 years old.
That's
He's
right.
1 years old now.
Mhm.
What in the blank is going on out here? But that being said, even Ike said, yes, we got a surprise, motherfucker. You know what? It was a total surprise when he clicked it, but I was feeling it and I was loving it when he did it. And I'm gonna have to do it myself.
Surprise, motherfucker.
And if you're feeling this type of way about him and me clicking this button, well,
Stop it. Get some help.
because we're all about having fun out here in the stream
Yeah. Yeah.
and bringing you factual football as well. With that being said, Sick also says, that begs the question, how much will Mr. Love be paying in taxes in the state of Wisconsin? $220 million is 2 Brinks trucks and then some right there. I'm pretty sure you meant to say Brinks. And with that being said, we're going to save that for when we get to I'm going to bring this question back up, Sick, when we get to the featured attractions, because that main topic is actually part of that. So I will bring that back up when this happens. He also says AAS looks like a cross between Glenn Close and Melissa Heather. Look at that smile. Even her players are walking away from her. Look at what's going on in
Cross
this.
between Glenn Close and Melissa Etheridge.
This stick just served her that big old fat. Bro, he got me. He got me bad. Glenn Close.
Wow.
Oh, that was great.
That is great.
Whoo. Thank you, Sick. Thank you for bringing those in. And like I said, we'll get back to your other question here in a moment, but we still have something else to go through here in the Gridiron Scoop. Another topic at bay we must discuss. And with our next topic here in the Gridiron Scoop, I'm still trying to shake off that last laugh. The NFL is now requiring both head coaches to do in-game interviews. How beneficial will these interviews be for the viewers? And will it affect the coaches negatively beginning this Thursday for the first preseason game of the year?
Okay, my question to that is, which one is going to try to pull the Greg Popovich first? Because that's what I want to see. I want to see the one that actually wants to act as though, well, I really don't have time to answer these questions. I'll give you one or two, and if even the one or two questions you ask are stupid, I'm just going to brush you off. I'm looking forward to seeing that because you know that's coming. But how beneficial would it be for viewers? I think it'd be a little bit more beneficial, not a lot more, a little more, because I think it'd be cool to actually hear how head coaches in the midst of games think. So for that aspect, yeah, it would be cool. But for most of the coaches in the NFL, not all of them, but definitely most of the head coaches in the NFL, I think they are professional enough to where it wouldn't affect them negatively. So I think they'll be fine. But I'm sure they will head to their bosses, and they would be quick to say, "This is a doggone nuisance. Yes, we'll do it. We'll shuck and jive. We'll smile. We'll give you the wonderful, courteous answers to spread the game from the sideline, because I know we also are marketers of the brand too. But understand that this actually sucks. I know that eventually that's going to happen."
I'm with you on that. And, a comment just popped up too. And Ike saying the NFL is stealing from the UFL again. And, it's very, very evident that they're doing that. I mean, there's been some great things that the XFL back in the day, now UFL combined with the USFL, have brought some innovative things to the game of football.
Yeah.
That the NFL just needed to see another league do it and be successful at it first before they were willing to try it out and put it in their league. So when you look at all this for what it is, I think it's going to be a pretty cool move. I mean, it gives us a little bit more inside, the team, before the game ends. because
Mhm.
we only get so much when they're doing the halftime, interviews, because they got to be
Right.
quick because they got to go in and deliver their speech. So
Right.
now, what after the first and third quarter, I'm going to guess is when we're going to get
Probably.
this. So we'll
Probably.
have in between the first and second, in between the third and fourth, and we'll still get our halftime and post game coverage and questions, to the coaches as well, because none of that's changed from from the way I look at that. So I'm ready for a team to be getting absolutely smacked around the field, and then have to do an interview like after the third quarter. Like imagine we have a CFL team right here. Let's go back to the Hamilton Tiger Kitties
Oh Lord.
and the Edmonton Elks. A game like that, you have a team that's up 34-8 through the third quarter, because that's what it was after three quarters this past weekend. You're getting your blank kicked 34-8. And you're the head coach that has to answer for that after the third quarter. So, coach, what are you going to do to stop sucking after three quarters? Because you're down 34-8. No, they're going to word it like that. Probably not. But they're going to say something along the lines into a similar context to make you think that that's where they're coming from. And it's going to set a coach off. If that happens and you're in a situation like that, after three quarters, you're down 34-8. What do you think? Which coach do you think is going to go off first if they're put in that situation out of all 32 teams?
I'm actually hoping that if the Giants are on the losing end of that score, Brian Daboll gets the shot to actually be that guy, because I know that he has a top that explodes quick. And the way we saw the Giants last year perform, oh gosh, yes. I'm actually I'm sorry. My mentality, brother Wise, I'm not rooting for this because I want your Giants to circle the drain, unlike my brother and partner over here, which I know he would wish for that to happen. But I just would love to see, like, if the Cowboys and the Giants play again on Sunday night in the Meadowlands, and we have that drubbing like we had last year. I would love for NBC to actually have the balls to go up to Daboll and ask him what is going on in between the third and fourth quarter. That would be beautiful. Then I would actually turn it up. I would turn the TV up. I will watch, and I would care what that head coach is saying, because I'd want the curse words to fly.
All right, Cole Johnson, let's reel it back in a little bit, okay? Just because I said they were 1-7, or they were going to go 1-7 to start the 2023 season, and I wasn't far off because they started 1-5. Let me reel this back in just a little bit and just tell you, I would prefer the Giants, the Eagles, the Commies, and the Cowboys to be at the same level of competition that we had not too long ago, just a couple years ago, when all four of them had the opportunity to almost make the playoffs. That type of football, when you're getting that type of production out of all four teams in your division to where all four of them have a chance to make the playoffs, that's the best football you can be proud to watch at that point. Because not only is your team, but the rivals putting up great competition in the game, it keeps the viewers more ingrained into the product, into the game, and it's more exciting to watch. Now, would I've loved to have been correct about the 1-7 prediction? Absolutely, okay? Because then I could just stick it to Wiseau Heavy just a little bit more, okay? Just a little bit. I don't want to stick it to him, but just for the fun of talking smack. I was still right with 1-5. I was only 2 games off. I was close. I'm going to throw that in there at the end of time. But now, I have to look at this for what it is. If we can have a division in the NFC East where they are considered the quote-unquote NFC beast again, because it's only been a couple of times, 2 or 3 times we've been able to say that in like a decade, since the RG3 great rookie season days when they were really tight as a division back then too. So if we can get that type of competition between all 4 teams, it only makes the game of football in the NFL even more exciting to watch, but a better league as a whole. So I'm not wishing for them to go down the drain, because then they get like the best pick in the draft. And then who are they going to pick if Shadur Sanders continues to ball out there in Colorado and improves from last year? Then we're going to have a bigger problem on our hands. So no, I do not want them to go down the drain. So I do not want to see them get the number 1 overall pick. Keep the number 1 overall pick out of the NFC East, and let's get some better competition from these teams, in my opinion.
All right, so I understand. And I wasn't saying that last year when you were predicting that the Giants would start 1-7, that this is how you always think about the Giants. I'm just saying that you want your divisional rivals to be somewhat successful. You just don't want them to be as successful as your team. And I'm a little different. Now, I don't mind if the Colts are competitive. I don't mind if the Jaguars are competitive. I want the Titans to be 0-17 every single year. I don't give a crap if it means the AFC South's reputation is shot. I do not care. I want the Titans to suffer the worst indignity every single year. This is how bad it is for me. If I were to watch the Cowboys play the Titans, I'd root for the Cowboys every single time. For the exception of if it were to hurt the Texans' chances of advancing. That'd be the only time I would not root for the Cowboys against the Titans. Every other situation, I'd root for the Cowboys every single time. That is how much I dislike the Titans.
Well said. And if you are new to this show, you now have a really good understanding of how Cole truly feels about the NFL team that he lives the closest to.
Yes. I'm only 15 miles away from where they actually play. So, yes.
Hey, I've never it's awesome for one, because I understand like your history and fanhood within the game of football. But you're the only person in my lifetime I've ever met that lives so close to a pro stadium with a pro like the NFL. Because I mean, there's a lot more people that are NFL fans than they are like MLS or baseball, whatever.
Right.
The only person I know that lives so close to a stadium, the NFL team, it absolutely despises them, doesn't dislike them, it just doesn't particularly care for them. No, you absolutely despise. Like, you would not be upset if they moved to London tomorrow.
No, I would not. No, I would not. Not even. I wouldn't even come close to saying, "Oh, that's horrible." I wouldn't even do that.
Sick even throws out, I don't know if certain head coaches would have the temperament to handle a press conference after certain games. We might see certain individuals just go off on reporters.
I know you will. That's going to be a must, and that's going to be a certain. The question is, who's going to be first? And a fine is a rich fine is coming if that were to happen. That's coming.
Absolutely. Sick Dicky says also a ticked off head coach is more like a cornered animal in a press conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, all you had to do is just think about Bill Belichick. The most excited he ever was to actually just have a microphone stuck in his face, and you see how he just wants to basically upset everybody else.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Playmaker joins in, commenting on the Comey Media platform, saying, "Fellas, what's good? Sorry I'm late. Olympic duty." Hey, man.
Understand.
Understood. Like, you got basketball to cover between WNBA and NBA. You and Cool McCain absolutely been crushing it, between your coverage on the WNBA and the NBA. So congratulations to you guys with that. And keep it up with the Shooting Lights Out podcast. I'm about to get caught up here soon. I still have like 3 episodes of the morning shift with Cole Johnson and some of your content to get caught up on as well. But with that being said, Sick also says plenty of folks will be anticipating how much of any particular head coach's tirade / rants and press conferences will be bleeped out by the censors. Fox better be on the ready.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I think they do run on a 7-second delay, so that helps.
And when it comes to your analysis, he says Petty Cole Johnson is in full effect because of your analysis on the Titans because they stole your team.
Look. All right, I'll put it this way, a playmaker. You are a Magic fan. I know this is NFL or this is football, but I'll put it in this way. I can't really do it in football because your team's the Rams, but you're a Floridian. You love the Magic. Imagine if the Magic were to go and they were to move. What's a good place? They were to move. Oh, I don't know. To say. Trying to say Seattle. They were to move all the way to Seattle, and you get a great job in Seattle. And the way the Magic brass were to just simply throw middle fingers at the city, at the fan base, and the organization itself, and the stadium and arena they played, and they would just move to Seattle, and then you hear them say, "Oh, Seattle's so much greater than Orlando. I'm so glad we're no longer the Magic. We're the Sonics again." How would you feel? That is what I've had to deal with for the last almost 30 years because that bum KS Adams decided that Houston was too hot of a kitchen for him to be in. He moved his happy oil-loving butt out of Houston. Well, I'm sorry, he moved the team out. He still lived in Houston. That also, and the owner still lives in Orlando. It just all of that because KS still lived in Houston before he died. So he takes his happy butt from Houston, moves to Nashville in the dark of night, like the Colts did Baltimore, just Indianapolis. And then you witness on national TV the owner of the team that you root for shaking hands with the mayor of that city saying, "Oh, yeah, we're moving this team here." That is why I am petty. No lie told.
And he got petty because he straight up called him by his government initials. KS.
Right.
Ken Stanley.
I will never call him whatever that nickname is ever again in life.
Bud.
He will always be KS in my mind every time. Oh.
Good old Ken Stanley, man. I'm not even going to lie, just because I'm not a Titans fan. Okay. Mm-hmm. We have discussed the actual game of football and the team. Mm-hmm. While you were talking about that, I straight up Googled his name because I knew him as Bud. Okay. I didn't know what the KS stands for. Mm-hmm. But yes, you went straight government. He is Ken Stanley. So I'm fully on board with that. I will from this point forward, I will no longer call him by the B word. I'm going to adopt KS in honor of Cole Johnson. I'm going to join this pettiness movement when it comes to KS Adams. You're no longer here, but your daughter is, and she's running the team into the ground. But there's only one person who truly enjoys watching that, and that is the EP of all EPs, Cole Johnson.
Oh, yes. Anything that makes the Titans bad, it makes me smile. I'll put it this way. The hatred that our brother Brian Snow has for LeBron James doesn't even come close to the disdain I have for the Tennessee Titans. That is how petty I am when it comes to that.
You can't handle the truth.
Tom Cruise out there loving it.
Oh, sick. Oh, Playmakers Blood Network would never hear that. Never hear the end of it from El Dusto 67 or Dustin Henry. Interesting.
Yes. Didn't you say you were wrong again? Still, Petty Cole Johnson in full effect.
Oh, find a lie.
You like that? You like that?
Hey, look, you have your hatred of the 49ers playmaker. Obviously, my partner has his hatred of the Cowboys, which is grossly understandable. And, well, I just can't stand the Titans. What can I say?
Oh, my brother, testify.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, and this is what sucks. The analyst in me wants to say, you know what? Just how Drew beautifully broke down the NFC East, and he says, you know what? My pettiness toward the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Giants, I want them to do well. I just don't want to do as well as the Commanders, but I do want them to do well because I want the NFC East to be the NFC Beast. And I'm so petty. I don't want the Titans to do well at all. I don't even want them to do 500. In fact, I was upset they finished last year 7-10. And one of those, and the last of those victories helped the Texans win the AFC South. But I was upset they were 7-10.
I mean,
how petty I am, and that's how much I hate the Titans.
If we could see an 0-17 team, Cole would absolutely love to see it be the Titans.
Oh, yes.
Imagine how much content we can create based on that. That would be a lot. And I would be chopping and screwing it all up for reals as much as I could. I'm not going to say that on the air. I'll talk about that off the air. But
if you thought I was petty before, if an 0-17 Titans team were to happen, oh, yes. That January, you will be loving me for the next month.
I could see Cole calling out of work the next day because he will be celebrating until the wee hours of the morning because that would be absolutely amazing. But when it comes to that, guys, let us know here in the comments what your thoughts are continuously on those interviews and for the viewers. That was definitely a great subject for us to talk about for a little bit. Thank you for Sick Digging and Playmaker for helping and Ike for helping us keep that going for a little bit. But we now have to get to one of my favorite parts of the week, and that is announcing who our dog of the week is.
Total football talk.
Where my dogs at? It's that time of the week where we got to announce who our pick for our choice. That being said, too, for the dog of the week, and I'm going to take it on over to Cole for this one.
You know what? I think I'm going to extend the petty. So my dogs of this week will be the New York Jets. And why? Well, one, Mr. Ryan McCarthy, you know I love you, brother, but I want you to listen to this and listen to this clearly. The reason why they are the dogs of the week is because they are doing exactly what I thought they were going to do with the team being led by the quarterback that you all were throwing ticker tape parades for in June of last year, Aaron Rodgers. I mean, right on cue. I mean, they get back to practice. They're in training camp, and I'm loving the fact that you have the ayahuasca sipping, toe picking, darkness retreating space cadets say that they have undergone a quote sloppy practice, close quote. And the reason why they are the dogs of the week is not necessarily because of the team. It is the reporters that are reporting them. I'm glad that you picked up on the fact that idiot had the nerve in the wintertime to say we can't have any distractions and then have basically little to do with the team in between when the season was over and training camp. They may have picked his head and door, but no. 6 months you could build chemistry and you have the nerve to opine, and you haven't even played your first preseason game yet that your team is sloppy. I would normally put you, and I have already done this, I would put you in the snowflake category, but the fact that you have rewarded me with such great joy, I'm giving you the Jets, my dogs of the week. You are my grand champs because you put a smile on my face.
That may be the only time this upcoming season do we talk about the Jets as dogs of the week. Okay, I'm sorry, Ryan McCarthy. And here in the next week or two, Ryan should be joining us, for some CFL coverage during hour 2. And I'm kind of glad that we got this out the way because Say
Mhm.
he was here for this, got all excited. We're talking about the Jets in this fashion. He may expect us to
Mhm.
drop another dime during like week 11 or week 12, but unfortunately, the Jets just aren't going to set us up for that type of discussion, I don't believe. I could be wrong.
Yeah, probably.
You could be wrong. We all are humans. We make mistakes. We can make a mistake.
True.
But I'm 100% with that pick. The dog of the week. I stand behind you on that one, my man. Is now my
Thank you.
time to
Yes.
make my choice for this. And before that, Ike says, yes, Cole Johnson with the quote. I love it.
Thank
That's
you, Mike.
awesome. So, as much as I want to give it to a team, I'm going to give it to someone who is part of a team that could arguably, and I mean this with every ounce of my being, has played like the third worst dumpster Pelican on this list. They are the one in the back left corner with like the beak pointing down towards the ground of that Kroger bag over there off the side. That's the one that I'm talking about right there. Okay. I'm talking about the quarterback who is the leader, the commander-in-chief of quarterbacking for the Hamilton Tiger Kitties. And I'm going to go with Bo Levi Mitchell. The one time and only time I can put him in the dog of the week category, because he's been in the snowflake of the week category at points.
Mhm.
Now I actually get to put him in the dog of the week. And I have to, and I don't feel right not putting him here because he had 5 touchdowns thrown in this past week. Okay. That's why I put them in there as, Sunday's game, 316 passing yards. He went stone cold on the Edmonton Elks. Now, based on the way the Elks have been playing all year, the fact that they're 0-7, it's not hard to put up these kind of stats. But for Bo Levi Mitchell, it is, because Bo is older now. Bo has been putting in his time here in professional football. You got to look at what he's been doing. You talk to anybody along the lines of Ryan McCarthy and others who have consistently watched Canadian football. He's 34 years old. Okay. 34 years old is a little different than the NFL because there are certain elements to the CFL that remind me of older football in the NFL. It's a little bit more rugged. Okay. You got a bigger field to play on. There's
Right.
3 downs to get to a first down instead of 4. There's a lot more working against you in CFL
Right.
than there is in the NFL. And to me, even though it is like the secondary league and has been like that for a long time in pro football, it seems like it's harder to play. So by the time you make it back from the CFL to NFL, you've been challenged a little bit more, in my opinion, to where you should be able to make it to the next step if you did everything the right way. Bo Levi Mitchell has been in the CFL for a good amount of time. Again, I said he's 34 years old. As a player from 2012 to 2022, he was with the Calgary Stampeders. We already know about his years there. 2-time Grey Cup champion, and he's a 2-time MVP. But this year, he has not been consistently playing like the Bo Levi Mitchell of old. This game right here, even though he had to play the worst team in the league to look like it, he looked like old Bo Levi Mitchell. He really did. And I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to say that. And I don't know how many more opportunities we're going to see him throw 5 touchdowns in a game. So because he's older now, because he's with a much worse team than the 3 and 4 Stampeders that are currently in the CFL, I have to tip my hat to Bo Levi Mitchell in this one, and that's why I'm giving him the dog of the week.
Nice. Oh, I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that at all. Hopefully he can be on this list more often.
And I hope so too, but I just, with the way this Tiger Cats team has played this year, and notice I said their name correctly this time. 2-5. Yeah, I just don't see them. I don't see us talking about Bo Levi Mitchell in this light again, unless he plays a team of the caliber of the Elkamos. And it may take them playing the Elkamos again before I can consider him to be the dog of the week. Who knows? But here and now, I'm just glad we could put him on this list because of what his accolades were up to 2022 before he came to the Tiger Cats last year in 2023. Right. It's nice to actually put him back in that category for a minute. And it's only for a short period, but it's enough. And with that being said, we got a couple things for you to read off from Sick Dicky.
All right. Cole Sports is proudly sponsored by Funky Soul Customs, brand new bowling shoe line. When you want to bowl a 300, when you win a bowl of 300 game, it's best to do so looking smooth. Funky Soul Customs. The funk be in your soul. Karaoke. When you need to break out in a song or have a song in your heart. Big times, big mics, and big songs.
Basically, we need to save some people from sport ugly bowling
shoes.
And furthermore, we need right said Fred and less wrong heard Ben. Furthermore, we need some more right said Fred and less wrong heard Larry.
Oh Lord.
So how do we go from Ben to Larry? You need to reel that back in, Sick. How do we get from Ben? How do we get from that to Ben to Larry? Okay, I during this commercial break we're about to take, I need you to figure this out. Let us know in the comments, and we'll acknowledge that here after our last commercial break we're about to have. But like I just said, we're going to go ahead and take it to that part. Thank you guys for tuning in up until this point. We'll see you here on the other side as we have the featured attractions and the 2-minute drill to wind out this episode.
Coming up next, the featured attractions. This is Total Football Talk. Comey Media Incorporated, creating content magic in the real world.
In a world where chronicles of the past are brought to the streams, whether the content is relatable or completely beyond your realm of life, there is no shadow of a doubt that this show is absolutely full of shenanigans. Get ready for
D. Willie in the evening,
this Sunday at 10:05 p.m. Eastern,
exclusively on Sartoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. $sign D Willie 87. Go ahead, hit him up on the Cash App, and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. Slide some Willie Bucks.
Sartoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Oh, yes. The tradition, the pageantry, the spectacle, the history, the slut. Wait. I gotta rep my brother's stuff right. All my DMV soldiers, stand up! And welcome to the Commander's Gridiron Report. You want your commanders to be repped right? Well, D. Willie is your man. Commander's Gridiron Report. Every Tuesday at 11:05 a.m. Eastern, 10:05 a.m. Central on the Sartoba Media YouTube channel. Music by J. Cool.
Where my soldiers? Right side. Commanders. Where my soldiers? Left side.
Welcome back to Total Football Talk, your source for hard-hitting gridiron action. We are back for episode 48. Myself, Drew Willingham, along with the EP of all EPs, Cole Johnson. We are back to discuss Jordan Love becomes the highest-paid NFL quarterback in history with $220 million Packers contract. And without any further ado, when it comes to that right there, we're going to take this into the featured attractions to cover that part. With the featured attractions, I'll bring that graphic back up for a second. That's what we're going to talk about first. As Jordan Love signs 4-year, $220 million deal with the Green Bay Packers after 1 season as a starter, does he deserve to be tied for the highest paid NFL quarterback along with Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow? And how does Tua Tagovailoa earn nearly $8 million less with the same length of contract that he just signed as well?
You have the owners of the NFL to thank for this. Now, I think what people seem to have slept on was when we were wanting to devalue running backs, and you had Jim Irsay basically almost all but drunk say something to the effect of, "Oh, running backs can get it how they live. You can get it off the glass. Whatever you can get it, because you all are expendable. You all will break, and basically your time in NFL is about 4 years. So by the time the end of your rookie contract is over, we're on to the next rookie." When that was being overlooked, or say that was being focused on, what was being overlooked was the owners treating quarterbacks as if they are Johns or they are Little John. They roll into Magic City and they are making it rain in the club on hoes. And the quarterbacks are the hoes. Because you're starting to see these owners acting very thirsty. They're starting to act very thirsty. And people can say, well, that Mahomes contract he signed, that really is what started. No. It was understandable the dude was the best QB in the game. Oh, by the way, that was 2 Super Bowls less ago when he signed that deal. So now he has 2 more rings. And he only signed for what, $140 million guaranteed of the half a bill that he's supposed to earn for the rest of it. But really, the contract that really pumped that started all off was a Josh Allen deal. You know, a lot of people were saying, well, wait a minute, he's not worth as much as he got, but he got it. And then, of course, what basically drove the nail home was the Haslam crew. For those who don't know, the Haslams, they own the Browns, where they were so desperate, they were being such hoes, and they were looking for the right hoe. They pulled the right hoe in. That's right, Deshaun Watson, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I mean, I'm sure when the phone call happened when he got there, it had to go something to the effect of, I don't know, like this, I guess. You know, just imagine.
Yes.
Oh, girl. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sit your butt down. You don't touch the merchandise. You look at it. Look at this prize filly, right? I'm sorry. Clydesdale right here. I'm the man. Yeah. Oh, phone. Hello. Hello. Oh, Mr. Haslam, I've been looking for your phone call. Oh, I'm the right hoe for you. Oh, I got the yeah. Oh, you got with my agent. That's right. The NFL is screwed. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm busy. Bye, sucker.
Bye, sucker.
Heifer, you right now are watching the $230 million. Oh, sorry. But yes, now everybody is on Deshaun Watson, and they're looking at the Haslam family and basically cementing the fact that these owners will throw a whole lot of Brinks trucks at these QBs just to have them on their squad. And seeing that Jordan Love, after only starting for 1 year, getting this deal, heck, he held out to get it. It just shows you how valuable these owners find the quarterback position. And they find it so valuable that they will literally break the bank in order to sign or re-sign them. and eventually it will turn. The market will turn, but right now the QBs are worth a mint, and most of the positions, save for maybe left tackle and the pass rusher and the shutdown corner, it's like basketball. You get it off the glass. And that's unfortunate. That's just how it is.
I know that that Deshaun Watson breakdown right there, I'm definitely going to make a reel out of that. That was absolutely great. And every time you go into character with that, you never disappoint. That made my day. Like, yes, it just made my day. I'm looking forward to when I can make that into a reel to make up for the lack thereof last week, because I had too much going on at the beginning of the week last week where I didn't get a chance to make any reels. That is going to make up for it, and I'm going to do that tomorrow. That is on my plans for Tuesday. But yes, thank you for that entertainment right there. That was great. I had to mute myself because I didn't want to overpower what you were saying because I was laughing so much. Like, I didn't want to overpower it. So I unmuted myself at a couple points, but I made sure that for like 98% of it, I was muted because that was absolutely gold. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Definitely great. And I don't know how we're going to top that with the remainder of this show, but I'm going to try. But what I can say, in my opinion, Jordan Love, 1 year of playing as a starter.
Not a long sample size, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't. And his agent deserves a good cut of that after
100. Yes.
$220 million for 4 years. And yes, I get it. You sat for a couple of years behind one of this generation of quarterbacks' best. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, as far as his we got to at least give him his flowers. Whereas he might be picking toenails and, you know, the ayahuasca and the stuff you were saying earlier. But as of now, but his previous accolades for what he did in Green Bay, they did warrant him to be in the conversation for one of the best of this generation.
He is very skilled. I will say that he's very skilled. It's extremely arrogant, and basically will throw everybody under the bus along with him, and that is what I do not like about him.
You got a 7-time NFL, you know, Super Bowl champion who's not even as arrogant as a one-time Super Bowl. You know, that guy, as much shade as people want to throw at him, over the years, I've started to like him a little bit more because he displays himself like a true professional. He doesn't act like someone you would think who has 7, yet somebody who has 6 less than him with only 1. Yeah, his head's pretty big. But for what he's done, yes, he should have won more championships, especially with the talent that he had. And there were many opportunities that he had where he dropped the ball. But looking at it for what it is, they're paying Jordan Love like he's going to get more than 1 Super Bowl. And in my opinion, if the Packers don't win a Super Bowl within this 4-year contract, they failed the team with this contract. Like, if you're going to pay him $220 million, you see him as the guy that can lead your team to a Super Bowl within that time frame. And if not, why the hell did you pay him to begin with?
That's a very good point. That's a very good point. And to a guy who, yes, he's only started a year, he hasn't even reached the NFC Championship yet. Not saying that he won't. Not saying that the Packers won't. But you've only have 1 starting year's worth of talent and worth of tape, and like you said, a few years holding the clipboard to say, okay, this is our guy of the future. We're going to throw all of our money and our support behind him. I think you should have waited a couple more years, but hey, who am I? I know that you're getting probably close to the rookie contract ending, but still, at least let them show you 2 years worth of material before you say this is our guy. The Chiefs did that. So you with Mahomes, why couldn't you be that patient with Jordan?
Yeah, when you said Lil Jon, many different things popped in my head there too. You know, from his Christmas, everybody, not a lot of people know that he has a Christmas song with the Kool-Aid Man. Okay, all right, that I thought about that. Also, for some reason, because of what you were talking about and the angles of what you went to, I thought of Jaquan from like the middle 2000s and everybody in the club getting tipsy. Okay, that song popped up in my head. You know that I got some real street cred if I'm bringing up some old school stuff like this from the 2000s, because when you were talking like that, I was thinking about those things right there.
I was singing along those lines of ba-dum dum dum, ba-dum dum 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 dum, ba-dum dum 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 dum, ba-dum dum 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 dum. Oh, to the window.
369. I was in another verse, but yes, we're on the same song.
Yeah, to the window, to the wall.
Radio edit.
To the dang, to the swept trip down and fall. All those heifers call. Call ski 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 ski. Call ski 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 ski. Call ski 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 ski. Call ski 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 ski. And that is the radio edit. That's the best up part.
I'm mad that you even know the words to that. Okay, because I can't. I could have sang the explicit version all day long, but we right now in this moment are streaming for the radio. Like we cannot have this on Real Wise, and we cannot have it on WQEE 99.1 FM in Georgia. We cannot have the other version. So I'm glad that you know the words, but you're probably one of few people that I know that can recite that type of the type of version of the song in this moment. That was great. But I'm glad I went radio edit. You went dang, and you went right into it. Like, that might be another reel right there from what just happened a minute ago. As that was absolutely great. Woo! Playmaker says, "Oh no, I thought you weren't doing that anymore."
With not 1, 2, 3, or 4, but 5 facepalm emojis.
Oh, that's how you know 5 times over. And 6 says, "I'm gonna let you read it."
Oh, ski ski motherfather. Oh, ski ski cut. Call ski ski motherfather. Call ski ski cut. And I do know that version too, but I had to, but I know the radio edit a little better.
That was absolutely great. We still have two more topics within the featured attractions that we have to get to, and this next one, I'm definitely looking forward to covering.
Hey! Who's giving them the business?
So right here with the quarterback, we're going to talk about the quarterback again, and this time for a different team. You know, NFL Insider says Sam Howell has been almost alarmingly inaccurate at Seahawks practice. Do you believe these current cases of the yips could cost him a roster spot before preseason ends, or do you think it's not a case of the yips? This is just how Sam Howell is, and he's being exposed.
See, this is when I feel for you, man, because I know how much you love Sam Howell. I'm sorry, let me do it the way you like for me to do it. Sam Howell. I know you love the guy. He did his best to lead the Commanders as best he could, and unfortunately, the team thought that he couldn't lead them further, and now he no longer is a Commander. And now he's on the West Coast instead of the East. And I'm thinking he's struggling because I actually feel as though he feels jilted. And I think he wants to prove that he can be an NFL caliber QB. But I think he wanted to prove that he's an NFL caliber QB with Washington still. And I think since he's no longer Commanders quarterback, now he has to prove his worth as a Seahawks guy. And of course, he was not going to be coming in as the starter. Yeah, he's feeling a sort of way. His feelings are hurt, and it's understandable. If this continues, yes, it can cost him a roster spot. Think about it this way. About 14 years ago. That's about right. No, 13 years ago. So you had, doggone it, I'm blanking on the first name. Flynn's the last name. I'm blanking so hard.
Matt Flynn.
Thank you. Matt. Yeah, Matt Flynn. He came into the same team, Seahawks.
Yep, from the Packers.
Came to the Seahawks from the Packers. They all but guaranteed him having the starting job. Almost all but stopped short in the media saying Matt Flynn's our guy. Came this close to saying it.
He got paid too,
and got broken off a good chunk of cheddar. And everybody thought, okay, well, he's the guy. Then all of a sudden, this QB that they thought he was going to actually play baseball. He came from out of North Carolina State. Barely knew him. He's a little small. He wears that number 3. He doesn't look all that imposing. He actually steals the job from him. And of course, that person is Russell Wilson. That situation could happen to Sam Howell, although I know Sam Howell is not coming in as the all but guaranteed starter. But if he could not impress the way Matt Flynn didn't fully impress the Seahawks, but Russell Wilson did because Wilson was just hungrier, he might find himself an outside looking in. I'm talking about Howell, because he might run into a younger, hungrier QB that wants it more than him, and he might get out of a job because of it. I don't want to see that, because I actually do like the guy, but yeah, the case of these yips, yeah, it could cost him a roster spot before we get to September the 8th.
And as much as I would like to disagree, I have to agree with you on this. Very good comparison with Matt Flynn, although, like you said, Sam Howell is not brought in here to be the guy. I mean, they still got Geno Smith. They still have other options. This team, basically, after Pete Carroll has now been pushed out, and they bring in a new coach, they're in rebuild mode. They're just not as loud about it, but it's obvious that they are in rebuild mode. Okay. But you brought up Matt Flynn, and this is something that hasn't been talked about for quite some time, because he was the backup in Green Bay for 4 seasons.
Yeah, for a good while, yeah.
And after what he did in 2011, when he had to fill in for Captain Ayahuasca and play a considerable amount of time and help lead the Packers to a really good, end of the year. You've been in the system for 3 years at that point. You knew everything pretty well. You had the opportunity. He took it. He ran with it. He went to Seattle. He got a 3-year contract for $19.5 million. Was only there for 1 year. And like you said, Russell Wilson came in and took his job. But that contract also included a $6 million signing bonus, $10 million guaranteed, and an average annual salary of $6.5 million. So he still got at least $10 million of that contract for one. Because he was only there for 1 year. The next year he went to Oakland, then bounced around the league for the next 3 years before he was out. Okay. So, he barely survived the length of that contract in the NFL. But the man got paid. And the funny thing is he went full circle back to the Packers in his last year of the NFL. So that's what I thought was funny. But yeah, while you were saying that, and you said Flynn, and I was like, yeah, Matt Flynn, he had the gear spinning. And I was like, I got to look this stuff up. But yeah, that was the contract length of that. Now, Sam Howell didn't get anything like that. He was literally traded. He's still under the Commanders deal that he signed when he first came to the team. I believe it's his last year of the deal, though. So, it's make or break for Sam Howell. If he continues on through, I think that he'll at least get the first 2 weeks of preseason, that opportunity to get some game time. If he's going to play like he practices, it's not going to look good, because how you practice, usually it's reflected into the following games. That's right. That's why the people who practice like they should play in practice have success and big success in these games. The ones who get, more than what we're expecting in the beginning and meet and exceed expectations. Sam Howell is very underwhelmingly performing out there in practice, to where it's making all the naysayers who spoke negatively about him during his time with Washington look like they're some real intelligent geniuses. Okay. Now, I am not going to sit here and completely reel back in on what I said, because the kid was given an unfair shake in Washington. Okay. He was drafted.
He most certainly was. Yeah.
He was drafted, but the head coach didn't believe in him. And you had others pushing him in. to see what he could do. He had some flashes in the pan where he looked like he could do some great things. And it wasn't just the talent around him making him look good. Okay, because I've heard enough about that.
Mhm.
If he is completely tossed aside and cut after this tenure in Seattle, I think he may have to go to like the UFL or the CFL in order to resurrect his career, because I don't think it's over for Sam Howell. But it may be over for the short term in the NFL. And it's definitely not fair, in my opinion, because he hasn't been put in the best chances to succeed. He was a part of a dumpster fire organization that was in the process of figuring out new ownership, changing head coach, and all the different things that happened before he was shipped to Seattle. He goes to Seattle, first-year head coach, backing up Geno Smith, who had a mediocre year last year after a pretty good 2022 season. And now it's like, it's deliver or bust for Sam Howell, and he's not working with the greatest talent. You still got like DK Metcalf. Other than that, who else do you have at Seattle? So when you think about that, I just, it's like the second consecutive place for him to be put in where he doesn't really have the greatest of opportunities to succeed. I'm not going to completely give up on Sam Howell yet, but it's not looking good for him at this point.
And you're looking at a guy who, yes, in his first year as head coach, he's a defensive mind. So normally with head coaches like that, they will look at QBs to do less than normally an offensive mind would allow you to do. So that might not be the best place for him to be. Oh, by the way, he actually was in that place with Riverboat Ron and Ron Rivera.
Absolutely. And it's going to be interesting to see how things pan out over the next few weeks. It really is. But luckily, neither one of us are Seahawks fans, so we really don't have to get but so much invested into it when it comes to our feelings on the matter.
Who's giving them the business?
The last part of the featured attractions, I thought about this because of moves like what could potentially happen with Sam Howell getting cut from Seattle. But when it comes to current free agents, Cole, at least 3. You got to pick 3. Just not like 17, but 3. Okay. Looking ahead to the 2024 NFL season and the potential teams that could use a veteran boost, who are the top 3 free agents, in your opinion, that are currently available to make an impact to a locker room? Positive impact.
Oh man, that's a good question. I'm going to think a little bit on this one. Top 3 free agents. Man, that's a good one. I know Terrell Owens would like for us to say him, but but I'm not going to say him, obviously. Wow. Okay. Let's see. You mean the ones that are still out there, or ones that have been picked up by?
The ones who are still available to be signed. Now, if you want to kind of help you out, I can go I can go ahead and give 3 myself and give you a little bit more time to think about it if you want.
Shoot.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So,
go ahead. Shoot. Go ahead.
So, when it comes to secondary and it comes to improvement of your teams, I would say somebody that I would have to look at first to be top of my list would be safety Justin Simmons. When you look at what he did in Denver, Simmons might be at the top of the list when it comes to good players who are still available to sign. The Denver Broncos let him go primarily because of financial reasons, and the team began the offseason up against the cap and needed to cut some costs. If they didn't have to do that, he would still be with the team. But make no mistake about it, the 4-time second-team All-Pro can still play. After racking up 3 interceptions and 8 passes defended, Simmons has been either a Pro Bowler or an All-Pro each of the last 5 seasons. He's built a career out of being a ball hawk in the secondary and is coming off an impressive 77.6 run defense grade from Pro Football Focus in 2023. On top of all that, the 30-year-old doesn't turn 31 until mid-November and is considered one of the top remaining players around the league. For context, his contract before he was let go, he was on a 4-year, $61 million deal, $15.25 million per year, which was over the cap, and that's why Denver let him go. So he, in my opinion, is your number one option for free agents, and when it comes to defense that you could make an addition on. This next one I would say is kind of hit or miss, but it's also along the defensive side, and that's cornerback Stephon Gilmore. Staying in the defensive backfield, Stephon Gilmore is another player where it's a bit head-scratching why he's still available. The 2019 Defensive Player of the Year isn't the same defender he used to be, but he still has the impressive ball skills that helped him win the award, locking 2 interceptions with 13 passes defended. The latter was the most he's recorded since the impressive campaign 5 years ago. Gilmore is available primarily because the Dallas Cowboys have several other contract extensions to worry about, like CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons, etc. Also, Dallas began free agency without much cap space and has 2 quality starting cornerbacks in Trayvon Diggs and Deron Bland. Hence, why Jerry Jones was cheap on the open market despite being all in. Quote, all in, end quote. Granted, the soon-to-be 34-year-old did have surgery to repair a torn labrum in his shoulder, according to Michael Gecken of the Dallas Morning News, which might scare some teams off given his age. Still, Gilmore would be a quality addition for a team looking to bring on a potential starting cornerback option, and his confidence hasn't wavered. So that's 2, Justin Simmons, the safety, and cornerback Stephon Gilmore. This next one is kind of tough because, my list kind of considered some defensive players, and I put a couple extra ones on there because I was going to give you the floor first, and like last week, see which ones on the list you might have picked, and then just kind of cross them off and then go. So I'm going to switch from defense to offense for this last pick. And in this pick, I'm going to go with an offensive lineman that many teams who've had a struggling offensive line should be shooting themselves in the foot for not even trying to make an offer to this guy. And that is offensive lineman Connor Williams. Unlike the first 2 free agents featured, it's somewhat understandable why Connor Williams is still available. He missed a handful of games around the middle of last season with the groin injury and then ended the year with a torn ACL in December, the second of his 6-year career. So Williams is likely and justifiably getting slapped with the injury-prone label around the league. That being said, it does sound like he'll be ready to go for the start of the regular season, despite having surgery towards the end of 2023. With all that being said, I get it why people are kind of leery on signing him because he's had 2 major injuries in a 6-year professional career. However, when you're a team that doesn't have anything to lose, especially with all that being said, you can kind of work it against him in contract negotiations and sign him for maybe just a little above the veteran minimum, give him an opportunity, especially if you're a team that's like one offensive lineman piece away from potentially making a run, even if he's a backup to rotate in and out of the bench. You should still be looking at this situation right here as a viable option, even if he's not a starter on your team, but he is a starter in the previous 6 years that he has been in the league. So when I think about all that, I'm going with 2 players in the backfield on the defense, and I'm going with an offensive lineman as my top 3 picks that you have available to upgrade your team with a free agent signing, be a positive influence in the locker room.
Okay. All right, let me see. Let me think. All right.
You're already a third of
those
the
are
way
good
there.
choices.
You said
Those are
T.O.
good choices.
Thank you. You got T.O. already, so we'll stick with T.O. because he still is clamoring. So, I mean, it is legitimate. So, I mean, I'll give you that one. Yeah, you can count that as your one.
I find that funny though. But let me see. Is one name that I'm surprised is still on the board, and yet, like I said, I like all your picks. The one name I'm surprised is still on the board, Xavier Howard. I don't understand. I thought that this guy was supposed to be the corner that the Dolphins wanted to actually build around, and now you get rid of him. And I'm surprised that he's still available, and it must be either injury issues, which I can't remember seeing them having injury issues, or he's a locker room cancer, and I don't think he's that either. So, he was with the Vikings before. I don't think he ran into issues there, and I'm surprised he's still out there. Heck, I'll go with a tackle, DJ Humphries. Now, he played with the Cardinals. I can understand there why I guess teams are leery of him, because he has the Cardinals residue, and I would understand that. You're charged with trying to block for Call of Duty, and it backfires. So I fully grasp that. However, you're considered you're considered the best offensive lineman, or outside of Connor Williams, that's available. So that name surprises me that it's still on the board too. And I'm torn between Quandre Diggs and Corey Davis. One is a defender, Diggs safety. The other in Davis is a wide receiver.
Former Titan. Trash.
Former Titan. But he got some of that trash residue off of him being a Jet. But I think
did he?
could have. But did he? Good question.
I had to. I'm sorry.
All right. I'm glad you did, though. That made me happy. I like that. I think both could still impact a team in the right way if you have the other pieces that are there with them. I mean, if you're expecting either one to be the piece that's going to say, okay, this will take us from a middle of the road team to a wild card team, or a wild card team to a divisional round team, to one of the four that's left standing, and from a conference champion possible to a Super Bowl contender. No, neither one of them are that type of guy. But if you have the pieces already, they can help you deepen your roster. And I think that would be a positive to the right contender. So yeah, I would probably say J.J. Humphries, Xavier Howard, and a cross between Quandre Diggs and Corey Davis.
I like your picks. Very, very solid picks. Looking at this, multiple options that many teams still have. If somebody on the defensive secondary or potential, if you need to boost that offensive line a little bit, there's many viable options out there. So, just because we're at this point in the year, we're almost the first preseason game, doesn't mean that your options are completely, dwindled out there. You have still other moves you can make, not as big as some that you could have made, but they could still help you out if you're that close on being teetering the line for having a potential successful or dismal type of play this year. So we'll have to see if any of these people that we discussed here on July 29th, by the time we come back to maybe this topic by the end of preseason, which one of these guys were actually signed that we suggested. And hopefully I'd like to see all of them get signed that we talked about. That'd be pretty cool if we can look back on it and say all those guys we talked about, not T.O., okay, but the legitimate ones, at this point.
Right.
It'd be nice to see if they can actually get signed and picked up by in a contending team at that as well.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
My apologies, wrong button. Now it's time that we did my next to favorite part of the week, but this is absolutely my favorite part of the week, the snowflake of the week. Oh, yeah, it's that time for the snowflake of the week. With that being said, who was your worst performer of professional football in the past week there, Cole?
Okay. Now I know this almost seems to be like a this can't be real type of moment, but I'm gonna have to do it. You have a team. This is CFL, mind you. You have a team that wins a football game. They were outpassed, they were outrushed, and the QBs of both teams didn't even combine to throw for 125 yards in the game. I'm sorry, this is just putrid. Cameron Dukes and Nick Arbuckle. You two are snowflakes of the week. Yes, both of you equally shared because one was garbage. I'm sorry, my bad. Garbage. No, I can't say it that way. One of you, let me see if I can put it in good vernacular. One of you was this in the first half. One of you, even though you got the W, you still took this in the second. You're ridiculous.
What?
Horrible.
What?
Bad.
What?
Edmonton Elks worthy.
What?
How can I? You all were 1990s Cincinnati Bengals bad.
What?
I mean, just horrible.
Ouch.
Cannot be professional QBs and combine to throw for less than 150 yards. Even that would be passable, but I could combine your totals in a game you won and you threw for less than 125 yards. You threw for 124 to be exact. 124 yards. How can you actually consider yourself a professional QB? That's where I am with it.
Man, that's pretty bad when you are 90s Bengals bad.
Yeah.
They were terrible. Keely Smith, all those. Yeah, I don't even get me started with the 90s Bengals, man. I know that they are glad they got to.
Delete!
When you think of
Yes.
Carson Palmer and beyond. Yeah, and even Ike jumps. It's
Yes,
not old
Ike.
man
Yes,
Boomer's
Ike.
Bengals bad.
Yes, Ike. Old man Boomer Esiason Bengals bad. Yes. Wonderful, Ike. Perfect. Yes.
You know, you had brought up in your take, which was a great one. And, you know, there's not many times we're going to have a team that won as part of the snowflake of the week. Okay.
No.
Definitely well said.
Thank you.
But you brought up, you compared them to a team that I'm actually going to go with, and that is the 0-7 Edmonton Elks. Like, you might as well just kick this team out. We have 8 teams in the league, and you give 2 teams a bye, you know, each week and rotate them because this is absolutely sad. You'd be better off putting in a high school team in there to represent the Edmonton Elks than who the Edmonton Elks actually are. McLeod Bethel Thompson has been struggling all year long, Cole. It has been an absolute dumpster fire, like you had brought up there. It's been this all year long with just nothing but absolute dumpster fire-isms. You know, it's to the point to where even Rick James is saying this every single play, not every single week, but every single play that they are a part of.
Now, that is absurd.
As many games as we have in the CFL, 18, okay, per year. I want to say that there's a good chance they could rattle off 11 straight wins.
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, no, to the no, no.
You notice Bishop Bullwinkle followed that take, right? I was being 1,000% sarcastic, okay? I do not see them winning 11 straight games after starting the year 0-7. What I do see is at some point this team's going to have to win. Like they just have to. Although I saw it being a very good chance this past week, and we even talked about it last week, how I thought the Hamilton Tiger Kitties could underperform and the Elks get their first win. Going forward, and you're going to see it here in a minute with the 2-minute drill, until they actually show us a win, I will not predict the Elks to win another game. They are as bad as the Winnipeg Blue Bombers were at the point that I went off on them a month ago. And they rattled off 2 wins after that. So it worked out good for them. But I've gone off on this Elks team with some other Snowflake of the Week picks. But unless you have a viable option that you can sign off the street at quarterback, it might be Sam Howell. But hey, I'm going to leave that alone. I want him to stay in the NFL. Your offensive line and many other factors of this team are hurting your quarterback play. McLeod Bethel-Thompson still making some bad decisions back there, but there are other factors that are affecting the play of your quarterback, your running game, and everything else, your play action, everything else that's mixed into it. You're making some stupid penalties. Your defense is subpar. I mean, they're not horrible. You know, they've kept you in games at certain points. This one, it was a little tough because they only had 1 sack, but they did put up an interception. Your running backs this past week had the best production they've had all year, and they still didn't even get 100 yards. And they only had 19 attempts. They had 99 yards for the day. But it's sad when your combined running backs have more yards on the ground than your quarterback has in the air. It says a lot right there. And, Trey Ford had to come in the second half through 121 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. I'm willing to bet that Trey Ford starts next game for the Edmonton Elks, okay? Because of what he did in the second half of the game. He only put up 120 yards, but he threw 3 touchdowns. And had they not had the deficit of 34-8 going into the third quarter, this team would have had a chance to keep this game alive and potentially win. But they didn't because they sucked. That's why. Because they were down 34-8 after 3 quarters. Can you imagine the interview like we were talking about earlier with the question with the NFL bringing in-game interviews, and like we guessed, probably after quarter 1 and after quarter 3. Can you imagine being the Edmonton Elks coach and getting interviewed? Sir, how does it feel to absolutely suck and lose 34-8 after 3 quarters with 1 quarter remaining in the game? I could see them going Greg Popovich on them. I could see we have Jim Mora standing up there with the playoffs, talking about that in that moment.
Yeah.
Remember, if you're looking for a place for factual news and sports, and this show being Total Football Talk, all things professional football, then
you got the right one, baby.
Because when it comes to teams that absolutely suck and deserve to be part of the Snowflake of the Week, the Edmonton Elkamos are my choice for episode 48's pick of Snowflake of the Week.
Oh, Lord, not the Elkamos again, Lord.
But before we go to our last part, we got to give a shout out to the chat real quick. Mickey Delaney's in the house and says that he has shared the show. Well, thank you for tuning in there, Mickey. We appreciate you as always. Whether you're late, you're still here, so that's all that matters. We appreciate you being out here in these streams. I'm glad you got a real mic, Drew. Am I sounding good today? Does that sound okay? Am I not sounding good?
You sound good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, I was wondering what was up with that.
Not unlike normal.
Okay, so it sounds normal. Okay, cool. I'm just making sure. What's going on? Mick kind of threw me off with that comment. I see your dumpster fire Commanders, Drew, 0-17.
That's terrible.
Mick, we're going to pull up a game show clip for you, bruh. Ain't no way the team goes 0-17. If they do, it will be a total
Surprise, motherfucker.
And for you to think, someone who's a Seattle Seahawks fan, someone who's got the illustrious, notorious backup quarterback known as Sam Howell, you need to
Stop it. Get some help.
because they are not going 0-17, bro. They are not going 0-17. Six says, you sound good as usual. I greatly appreciate it. And yes, survey says. I had to throw that out there because Mick is talking that wild stuff, screaming out the side of his neck right now. So I had to put him in check with that. When it comes to that, we do only have one more thing left to do before we get to the outro, and that is a quick old stop, 2-minute drill. We have 5 professional football games this week. Now, we're not going to predict one of them, but we will at least discuss the fact that the Bears take on your team, the Houston Texans, this week. How excited are you? We don't have to give an analysis because we're not going to do all that for preseason, but how excited are you to not only have the NFL back, but to be able to see your team on TV this week?
It's going to be great. I'll get a chance to probably see players that I have not really focused on so much get the spotlight. Obviously, we'll be seeing Stephon Diggs and CJ Stroud basically in street clothes, maybe in warm-ups. I doubt they'll be dressing in uniform, but it'll be great to actually see others that that are new to the team, rookies that were not picked in the high rounds. See how they perform. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, and I'm also looking forward to hearing how the national media is going to be talking about the Texans now, as opposed to when I have seen them have relevance and prosperity roughly about a decade ago, where you had that sense of, yeah, this team is good, but I want to see if they have the same, yeah, this team is good, but, or this team actually has something and they're on the rise. So I'm looking forward to those two things. And that's what I want to judge Thursday when I watch what I hear and see.
Even though we won't see Stephon Diggs, I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out by the time you get to the season and seeing how that works out. We're still going to be a few weeks, but the fact that August is already here in a couple of days and we have NFL. I'd like to thank the CFL and the UFL for keeping us entertained to get us to this point to where we still have 48 consecutive weeks of football talk. But now that we get to blend CFL, we'll still have that a part of it, but reincorporating NFL as the main piece to our show. I'm looking forward to it because that's what started this whole unit to begin with. And the fact that we have it starting back up this week, and your team, an exciting team that we are looking forward to both watching and covering this year, they can do some special things. Hopefully there's no sophomore slump for CJ Stroud. We shall see. But with that being said, we do have 4 actual legitimate games to talk about this week. Let's go ahead and start it off with the first one.
Who's giving them the business?
So Thursday night, the same night that we have the preseason for NFL football starting back up, the BC Lions, who are 5-2, travel to Winnipeg to take on the Blue Bombers, who are 2-6. 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on TSN. Who wins this game?
See, the Blue Bombers, they have this game all the way. They have it locked, stock, and barrel. I mean, I really have I have a good feeling. I mean, last week their offense was on point. Their defense, they held the Argonauts to 16 points. So I think they're going to really do it up big against the Lions.
We got to pause that.
No, the Lions are pissed. They want to come back. They want to beat the brakes on the Blue Bombers.
I second that. I love the dramatic segue, and I'm fully supporting that. Lions moved to 6-2, Blue Bombers go to 2-7, and that's how this Thursday game ends.
Who's giving them the business?
Our next game on Friday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on TSN as well. We have the Montreal Alouettes, who are now 6-1, traveling to Hamilton to take on the Tiger Kitties, who are 2-5. Will they revert back to the Tiger Kitties-like play after how they've played the past couple weeks? Will Bo Levi Mitchell be able to lead them to a 3-5 record after this game and give the Montreal Alouettes their second loss? Or will the Alouettes absolutely treat this team like the dumpster Pelicans that they are?
Oh my, I'm actually leaning close to an upset here on this one. And the only reason that I was just not sold on the Alouettes being the way they were. I mean, they eked a victory at home against Saskatchewan. And I'm sorry, the Roughriders. And
yes,
they're gonna go on a road to a team that, yeah, they're not as talented. They're not as talented, and I could see possibly they could have an easier time. I think the Tiger Kitties might actually get some claws, and they actually might pull a W on this one. I think they will.
I respect the take, and it could potentially happen. I'm not against it, but I will respectfully disagree. I think the only reason why that game was tight with the Rough Riders was because of who they were playing. There's a completely different style of competition that you're playing, and besides Bo Levi Mitchell, there's not much else the Tiger Kitties have. I'm going to go with the Montreal Alouettes, adding another win to their column, improving to 7-1. Tiger Kitties move to 2-6, and that's how I'm going with this Friday night game this week.
Who's giving them the business?
Now, the one team that I didn't bring earlier into the equation when we first started it off, I accidentally skipped over it for the Week 9 bye. We have the Ottawa Redblacks, who are 5-2, and based on how they've been playing the past few weeks, definitely deserve to have this break. Being at 5-2, they're part of the top 3 teams in the league with the Alouettes, the Roughriders, and then the Redblacks, respectively. So with them having the week off, we move to the Saturday and Sunday weekend games, and a team that I just annihilated for the Snowflake of the Week pick travels to Saskatchewan to take on the Roughriders. And the Edmonton Elks, that is, are the away team, 0-7 winless team so far this year. The Roughriders are 5-2. This game is at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. Edmonton Elks get their first win of the year and upset the Roughriders. Are you going with another upset here, or will the Roughriders bounce back after a tough loss to the Alouettes last week? Yes.
This is gonna be ugly. If it's a game at the half, I'll be shocked. Rough Riders are probably gonna run roughshod over the Elks. The Rough Riders, they easily get back. They easily get back to the win column, and they'll be motivated to get to the win column too. So they're dealing with licking their wounds after an L, and they're coming back home, and they're playing a winless team. Yeah, I see a W for the Rough Riders.
From one great transition to another, the Rough Riders are going to make a comeback from this past week and serve that.
Sell.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Sell it. It's time.
No.
So we are both all in and 100% agree with that. We're going with the Rough Riders winning this game.
Who's giving them the business?
And on Sunday, we have the battle of two dumpster Pelican-esque teams with the way that they have played in this past week. And that's a team that got the win as Dumpster Pelican this past week, and a team that got served a 33-6 loss as another Dumpster Pelican. We have the Calgary Stampeders hosting the traveling Toronto Argonauts. The Argonauts are 4-3. Calgary Stampeders are 3-4. This game's at 7:00 p.m. Eastern time on TSN on Sunday. Do you see the Stampeders winning at home and evening up their record at 500 and serving a loss to the Argonauts to bring them back down to 500? Or will this past weekend, even though it was as ugly as it was, be enough to keep the momentum strong for the Argonauts to improve to 5-3?
This just into the Total Football Talk news desk. This game, I don't care who's going to win, is dumpster pelican worthy. That's right. You will be seeing 22 dumpster pelicans adorn the field at all times, all 3 downs, all 4 quarters, all 2.5 to 3 hours worth of this game. You will be seeing in Toronto, in Calgary, 22 dumpster pelicans. Oh, and now for the choice of the victory. I think both teams will be 4-4. I see the Stampeders eking their way to a W. They're gonna win this ugly, and I can see them pulling it out late, simply because I just think that they will find a way to do something good in the game, but it's not going to be pretty.
When you break into the character voice of the superhero broadcasting Chris Bass, I absolutely love it, because that's where we just went a minute ago, and I felt it every single ounce of it as you were delivering. That was great. So with that being said, I honestly don't care who wins this game either, because they both are absolutely terrible.
I don't care who wins this game,
because it makes it more interesting and for the home team. And then we have 2 teams at 500 again. I'm going to say the Calgary Stampeders win this game to make both teams, one of them improve and one of them regress to 500.
Hey, who's giving them the business?
And now for the last part of the show, and that is the post game.
As long as it's one. Oh, that's great. I love it. I hope it actually is recording. Listening to it.
When it comes to our final thoughts going into CFL Week 9 in the first week of NFL preseason, the very first matchup, what are your thoughts rounding out the show there, Cole?
All right, so it's here. We got a chance to witness players report to camp for NFL season, and the funniest of them all, we were seeing Joe Burrow looking like he wanted to mock Slim Shady. I mean, it was hilarious seeing him with the blonde buzz cut and looking as though he was this Marvel Cinematic Universe villain. Reporting to training camp for the first day. Of course, we're talking about the starting quarterback of the Bengals. But what I'm interested in actually seeing, now that the training camps have begun, we're now a week into them, and we will have our first game in 3 days, where basically you'll be seeing what the second stringers play a quarter, third stringers play a quarter, fourth stringers play the last 2. Between the Bears and the Texans, I think what we will be seeing is adjustments. Now, you mentioned one, Mr. Willingham, the head coach is getting interviewed on the sideline in between quarters. Another adjustment that teams have to make, the new NFL kickoff. Mm-hmm. And you were talking earlier about the things that the NFL has adopted from the UFL. Here's another one.
On winning days.
Mm-hmm. And now you'll be seeing a difference in how teams will cover kickoffs and how teams will strategize in getting kickoffs. And so for me, I think the word of the year with the NFL is adjustment, because I think you'll be seeing a lot of it all the time. And if you think that this is being overdone, just remember, we have had the overtime rule of the playoffs happen for a couple of years. And the Super Bowl losing team did not remember that both teams, regardless if you score a touchdown, get a possession. Check out the commercial. Total Football Talk, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central on Mondays. But I digress. Adjustments. Which team will be more adjusted to how the NFL is gravitating to? I think that will be the interesting thing that you will get a chance to see in terms of who is going to be on top and who is going to suffer. And the quicker a team can adjust to the new way of life or the new normal of the NFL, the sooner that they can be successful. Now it is about making sure that all I's are dotted, all T's are crossed, because for the next 6 weeks, that's what you're going to have to focus on as a team. And yes, you're going to get the reports of teammates sniping at each other off an offense, 2 offensive guys snapping at each other, 2 defensive guys snapping at each other. I've already seen a video of the Texans, mind you, of Darryl Stingley Jr., cornerback, basically walk over and try to slide on. When I mean slide on, I mean throw a punch where he has a lot of lean on it to tight end Dalton Schultz. You're going to see that. Tempers are going to flare. Egos are going to be bruised. Anger is going to run high. That's what you need to have, because you want to test to see how much, how long, and how strong the chemistry is. And if the chemistry isn't strong, then you'll find ways to tweak it, and you'll find ways to make sure it gets right. And the only way you can do that is if you test them. And of course, this is the warmest time of the year. Make no mistake about it. Putting yourself out there, out in these conditions, and normally at around 1 and 2 and 3 in the afternoon, where it might be the second of 2-a-days, you will be tested. And then, oh, by the way, you have somebody on the opposite side that wants to basically embarrass you, and that happens to be your teammate. That is a part of football. That has always been a part of football. It is a part of football now, and that will always be a part of football. You get to find out who is the strongest that will survive, who is the most survival of the fittest ready, and you'll get a chance to witness the process of how each of these 32 teams will get down to their 53 players come September the 5th, 4th. I'd say probably maybe September the 1st or August the 31st. We will get a chance to witness who is going to be the guys who, of course, will bring the lion's share of the attention home, but also the unsung player, the guy that you did not see, the guy that you did not know about, the guy that surprised you, the guy that he signed on, didn't even get drafted, but he impressed the coaches so much that he became an endearing part of the team. This is when you get to see these Brian stories and these success stories and these Rudy stories, these stories where it's like, wow, I did not see this guy make the team, but man, the way he did it, I love this guy. I'm all for him. Basically how like a Tom Brady was. I mean, he was, of course, 6th round, 199th draft pick, didn't play the first year, but he brought a Super Bowl to the New England Patriots the second. So this is the time you get a chance to witness who is the talent that's going to bring you to the prosperity and the promised land that you want to get to, which, of course, culminates the second Sunday in February. And if that happens the right way, you end up like the Chiefs, who they completed doing this right the last 2 years. And you might see them do it a third come this second Sunday in February.
You absolutely crushed it with that take. There's not much that I can say to really add to that because Cole absolutely crushed it. I mean, it got me even more excited for the beginning of the NFL season. You know, the fact that preseason's here, nobody really gets too hype about preseason. You know, it's just the opportunity to see certain players and get a little bit more reps who may have a chance of making a team. You know, so those things and everything that Cole just said gets me hype and gets me ready because there's going to be one person on every team at least that is that guy that gets to make it part of the 52-man squad or 53 or whatever. So looking at this for what it is, I'm just excited that we have NFL back this week. It's the beginning of even more, because this is the Hall of Fame game. It's the only game, but still, it's NFL. It still gives us something. Even though Caleb Williams has been adamant to the media about wanting to play in this game because it's the Hall of Fame game, Bears would be smart to sit him in this game, just like every other team, is starting. I mean, sitting there starting quarterbacks because unless I've missed something in all these episodes we've covered, Caleb Williams will be starting week 1, just like Jaden Daniels will be starting week 1 for the Commanders, in my opinion, because Marcus Mariota, come on. You're about to see, if you're not watching right now, Legacy Maker Sports Network, my take with that. So with all that being said, I just brought it up. I'm going to go into a couple things before we close on out. Right now, it's actually live right now, Legacy Maker Sports Network. You can find this episode that we recorded last night talking about the journey to Sartoba Media and how we got to this point right here and now. You can find that on Legacy Maker Sports Network on YouTube or on Bowie TV's YouTube channel as well. Here tonight at 9:05 p.m. Eastern Time on the Sartoba Media, you can see episode 117 of the In or Out Sports Debate. And we got a little preview for you that we'll be discussing during that episode. There's a new member coming to Sartoba Media. We'll be bringing a weekly show and some more content to help this brand out as much as possible because, myself and Cole with this show, Kyle Nash with the 2 shows that he brings weekly, and then with what I try to do on my own, every little bit of help is definitely needed, and this person is going to be bringing some great talent. Can't say who. It's just, if you've been seeing the shorts on the YouTube channel, it's painting a cryptic picture, but you're about to find out here real soon when it comes to certain things said and discussed on tonight's episode during certain commercial breaks before and after. So that's as much as I'm going to give you right now. But with what Cole said when it came to the game of football, there wasn't much more I could do to compliment that. I kind of just had to throw some shameless plugs out there for a second, but no shame in that. I appreciate all of you who've been tuning in, especially all of you who've been tuning in to Comey Media, as well as taking a look at this show Monday through Friday, The Morning Shift with Cole Johnson, brought to you by BS3 Network. You can check out on Roku, YouTube, and at BS3 Morning Shift with Cole Johnson. And we only have one more thing left to do for this episode right here, and that is for Cole. Take us home.
Well, all right. Well, if you want to follow my brother here, Drew, all you have to do is hit him on social medias out the yang. Like with Instagram, Sartoba_media, at the X, Sartoba_media, at TikTok, at the _Sartoba, and of course, YouTube, Sartoba Media. And for yours truly, all you have to do is go onto flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. That is flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. And of course, if you want to catch anything that comes from me, you can go onto the YouTube channel that's titled Comey Media Incorporated. And if you want to watch the Morning Shift with Cole Johnson, that is the BS3 Morning Shift Cole Johnson YouTube channel where you can find me. And that is all. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. And thank you guys, the TFT tribe, for the comments. We appreciate every single last one of them. And don't forget, hit that notification bell so you can catch all the content that comes from Sartoba Media, the new stuff that's coming, and the stuff that already comes, and the Comey Media YouTube channel. For Drew Willingham, I'm Cole Johnson, here to say, in parting, as we always do, In life, just like a tackle, keep your head up. And always remember this: you got to play until the whistle blows.
And as always, stay safe out here in these streets. And remember, it will never get as bad as the decision making that this woman makes. Your decisions today will be better than hers. Total Football Talk is now off your screen. Stay safe out here in these streets.
A cross between Glenn Close and Melissa Etheridge.